This is not a story about monsters. It's a story about what we leave behind and what comes looking for us when we finally return. From Shadowed Fears, this is The Deer of Ashwood Hollow. And from people, they just watch, standing in the mist with those dark liquid eyes, silent, patient, as if they're remembering something you've forgotten. My name is Elias Ward, and for years I told myself I'd never go back there, but when my mother died last winter, I found something that changed my mind. A small cardboard box buried at the bottom of her closet. Inside, old letters, a cracked watch, and a disposable camera. On its label, written in my mother's shaky handwriting, "Do not develop." 1998, Ashwood Hollow. 1998. The summer my best friend Jacob went missing. The police never found him. They said we'd wandered too deep into the woods, that I'd gotten lost, panicked, and run home without him. But I remember things differently. Or I thought I did. I drove back to my hometown that same night, past the gas station that always flickered like a dying firefly, past the diner that hadn't changed its sign since the 80s, and as the road narrowed into forest, the first deer appeared. At first, just one, standing by the tree line, head tilted toward the road, then another, and another. By the time I reached the old wooden bridge, they were everywhere, still, watching, their eyes glinting in my headlights like small pieces of wet glass. When I pulled up to my mother's house, the rain had stopped. The forest smelled the same as I remembered. Moss, wet bark, a hint of something sweet and decaying. Inside, the air felt heavy. Old photographs lined the walls, my mother's face in every one of them except the last frame. That one was empty, just a faded outline where a photo used to be. I dropped my bag, set the old camera on the kitchen table, and stared at it. There were only a few shots left inside. I thought about throwing it out, but instead I decided I'd finish the roll. That night, I dreamed of Ashwood Hollow, the way the trees leaned toward you as you walked, the way sound carried too far, like the forest itself was whispering. And in the dream, I heard a camera shutter, not once, but over and over, click, click, click. When I woke, my window was open. The curtains fluttered like slow breaths. And outside in the mist stood a deer. It didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. Until the sun began to rise, and it vanished into the trees. The next morning I packed a flashlight, my mother's camera, and a bottle of water. The trail to Ashwood Hollow was still there, half overgrown but unmistakable. It started just behind the old fence at the end of our property. The same place Jacob and I used to sneak through as kids. For the first hour, it almost felt peaceful. The forest hadn't changed much. Tall pines, whispering birch, the scent of damp earth. Only the air felt wrong somehow. Thicker, like I was walking underwater. Then I saw it, a small clearing ahead bathed in gray light. And right in the center, half buried in mud, a bicycle. The paint long gone, the frame eaten by rust. But I knew it instantly. Jacob's bike. I crouched down, brushing dirt from the handlebars, and noticed something beneath the front wheel. A torn strip of fabric. Plaid. The same pattern Jacob wore that day. I stood there for a long time until I felt something watching me again. Not a person. I would have heard them. Something else. The same stillness I remembered from years ago. I turned slowly, and there it was. A deer, standing just beyond the clearing. Its fur was patchy like old velvet peeling from wood. Its eyes were deep and black, and its head tilted. Not curiosity. Recognition. I lifted the camera, snapped a picture. When the film rolled forward, the deer was gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. But when I looked down at the camera's small preview window, the image wasn't empty. There were trees, the clearing, and behind me a shadow. I turned. Nothing. Just forest. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the woods were breathing with me, like the entire place was quietly inhaling, waiting for me to exhale. Hours passed. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. No birds, no insects. Even my footsteps started to sound distant, like they didn't belong to me anymore. Then I saw something ahead, a shape between the trees. At first I thought it was another deer, but as I stepped closer, I realized it was me. An old wooden sign, half rotted, carved with a single word, aswood, and nailed to it, hanging by a rusted nail, was a photograph, a Polaroid. I pulled it free. My hands were shaking. It showed a boy standing exactly where I was, holding a camera. Behind him, a figure in the dark, blurred, almost human. I froze. That voice, faint but familiar. Jacob. The forest around me seemed to lean in closer, trees arching like ribs, and for the first time I felt afraid to breathe. Then, the shutter sound again, but it wasn't mine. Click, click, click. From somewhere deeper in the woods, the forest remembers. I could feel it. Every step I took echoed with something older, something watching from the edge of sight, and somewhere ahead a light flickered between the trees. Faint, blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. I lifted my camera one more time, and through the lens I saw it. A shape moving between the trunks, pale and long-limbed, antlers catching the light. Not a deer, not really. I lowered the camera, but the light was gone. The forest was silent again. And in the dirt before me, a single hoof print. Deep, fresh. Something about this place was wrong. It wasn't just memory, it was hunger. And it knew my name. Still, I kept walking, because some part of me knew I'd been walking towards this moment my entire life. The trees grew denser the deeper I went. The path twisted like it was trying to lose me, and soon I wasn't sure if I was following a trail or something that wanted to be found. The light changed too. It wasn't sunset yet, but the shadows had lengthened, stretching across the forest floor like fingers reaching for my boots. I tried to tell myself it was just nerves, that this place wasn't alive. But when the wind passed through the branches, it sounded like breathing. Slow, rhythmic, almost human. I stopped to rest near a hollow log. My water bottle was nearly empty. I hadn't realized how long I'd been walking until I saw how pale my hands had become. Every sound felt sharp now. Each crack of a twig made my heart jump. And then I saw movement again, a flash of white between the trees, a deer, or maybe the same one from before. It stood at the edge of the clearing facing me. There was a stillness in it that felt wrong, like it was waiting for something. I raised the camera. Click. This time when I looked at the screen, the deer wasn't in the photo, but something else was. A second figure blurred behind the trees, closer than before. I turned in every direction, whispering Jacob's name under my breath. My voice felt small, swallowed by the forest. Nothing answered, except the rustle of leaves. I kept walking. The air was heavier now, pressing against my chest, and somewhere ahead I thought I heard a low hum, a sound too steady, too deep to be the wind. It drew me forward until I stepped into another clearing. Here the ground was uneven, dotted with small wooden carvings, dozens of them, each one shaped like a deer, some standing, some kneeling, some lying broken in the dirt. I knelt and picked one up. It was rough, hand-carved from pine, and marked with symbols I didn't recognize. Tiny crosses etched into the sides, and along the back, faint initials. J.W. Jacob Ward, my brother's name. No, Jacob Walters, my friend. The memory hit me like a jolt. I'd forgotten his last name. After all these years, after all the guilt, I'd let it fade. And suddenly I understood what the forest was doing. It was giving me back what I'd lost, piece by piece. But the question was, why? I took another step and the ground gave way beneath my foot. I stumbled, landing hard on my knees. When I looked up, I realized what I'd fallen into. A pit. Shallow but lined with photographs, hundreds of them. Faces of people I didn't know, pinned to the dirt walls by rusted nails, every face staring outward, some smiling, some terrified. In the center of the pit was a single antler, bleach white, sharp at the tip, and coiled around it, a strip of fabric. The same plaid pattern again. I backed away, heart hammering. My breath came in ragged bursts, and above me, the trees began to creak, not from wind, but from movement. The sound of something shifting, slow and deliberate, branches parted, and for a moment I thought I saw eyes, dozens of them. Glowing faintly, scattered like stars among the leaves, I scrambled out of the pit, tripping over roots, clawing at the dirt until I reached level ground again. And there, standing in front of me, was the deer. It was closer than before, too close. Its breath came in soft clouds of mist, and when it exhaled, I swore I could smell iron. I whispered Jacob's name again. The deer's ears twitched. It tilted its head. And for the briefest second, I thought I saw something in its eyes, a reflection, not of me, but of two boys standing side by side, laughing beneath summer light. Then it blinked, and the image was gone. The deer turned, stepping backward into the dark. And I followed. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe? Or the hope that if I followed long enough, I'd find Jacob on the other side. The trees grew closer together until I had to push through them. The light dimmed to nothing but gray. Every breath I took sounded too loud, echoing between the trunks. When I reached a narrow stream, I saw something floating in the water. A photograph, waterlogged, but still visible. It showed me standing in front of my mother's house, from behind. Taken last night, I dropped the photo. It drifted downstream, face down, and vanished beneath the current. That's when I realized the forest wasn't following me. I was inside it now, inside something older than the trees. I sat down on a fallen log and tried to calm myself, but the silence pressed in again, thick and humming, like 1,000 whispers too soft to make out. And beneath it all, a slow, rhythmic sound, steady as a heartbeat. Click, click, click. The same sound from the dream, the same one from the clearing. I turned toward the noise and saw a faint light flicker deeper in the woods, blue and cold, pulsing gently between the trunks. I followed it, each step slower than the last, my feet heavy with mud. When I reached the source, I froze. An old camera sat on a stump, its flash still glowing faintly, and scattered around it dozens of undeveloped Polaroids, each one caught in the damp, their edges curling. I picked one up. It showed a man standing among deer, his face pale, eyes hollow, and behind him in the shadows, another shape. Unclear, but reaching toward him. I dropped the photo. When it hit the ground, the camera's flash fired on its own. The light burned through the dark for half a second, and in that white glare, I saw them all around me. Deer, dozens of them standing in perfect silence, their bodies half hidden in the mist. Their heads turned toward me, unblinking. The flash faded, darkness returned, but I could still feel their presence close enough to touch. My heart pounded in my throat. I took a step backward and felt something crunch underfoot. Another photo. I bent to pick it up and saw my own face staring back, taken from just a few feet away. My breath caught. Somewhere in the dark, the shutter clicked again, then again, each sound closer than the last. Click, click, click. I turned toward the noise, whispering Jacob's name once more, and from the shadows, something answered, a voice that sounded like my own. "Why did you leave me?" The words hung in the air like frost, and before I could move, the deer stepped forward, their eyes reflecting faint shapes, faces, memories I'd buried long ago. The forest was showing me the truth, and I wasn't sure I wanted to see the rest. The sky was gone now. The forest had swallowed the light completely. All that remained was the soft gray glow of mist winding between the trees. My breath came shallow. Each inhale tasted of damp earth and something faintly metallic. Somewhere ahead, a shape moved, tall, slow, deliberate. I followed, though my legs felt numb, my body no longer my own. The ground sloped downward into a hollow, and there, in the center, stood something that didn't belong, an altar. Old wood, cracked and blackened by age, antlers nailed to the sides, feathers tied with bits of red string, and photographs pinned beneath stones, each image the same. People, standing among deer, faces blurred or missing altogether. I stepped closer, the air grew colder, and then I saw it, my mother's handwriting on one of the photos. A single word, forgive. I turned the picture over on the back, faint numbers scratched into the paper. 1998. The year Jacob vanished. Something in me broke open then. A flood of memory, sharp and merciless. We were just kids. We'd snuck out that night with my mother's old camera, daring each other to go deeper into the woods. The deeper we went, the darker it became until Jacob stopped and said he heard something moving. I laughed. I told him not to be scared, but I was terrified. Then a sound echoed through the trees, not an animal, not wind, a voice, soft, calm, calling my name. I ran. I didn't look back, and when I did, Jacob was gone. The camera in my hand had clicked as I turned, one accidental flash, freezing his face mid-turn, eyes wide in fear. That was the last image I ever took. I fell to my knees, the memory pressing down like a weight. Tears blurred my vision. And when I looked up again, the altar was no longer empty. A figure stood there, half man, half shadow, its outline twisting with the fog. Antlers rose from its head like a crown of bone. It didn't move, didn't speak. But I felt it inside my mind, cold and ancient. The forest keeps what it's owed. The voice wasn't sound. It was thought. A pulse that echoed in my bones. I tried to stand, but my body wouldn't obey. Something unseen held me there. And around us the deer began to gather, silent, unmoving, hundreds of them forming a ring at the edge of the hollow. Their eyes caught what little light remained, glowing faintly like the surface of a black lake. I whispered Jacob's name one last time, and for a heartbeat I saw him, standing just behind the creature, the same boy I'd left all those years ago, but his face was calm now, peaceful. He reached out a hand, and the creature stepped closer. I could feel its breath, cold, slow, smelling of soil and rain. It lowered its head until the tips of its antlers brushed my forehead, and in that instant I saw everything, every photograph, every shadow, every secret this forest had swallowed, all of them connected, bound by the same act, Someone leaving, someone forgotten, someone remembered too late. The deer watched as the truth unfolded. It wasn't Jacob who had been taken. It was me. I'd left part of myself here that night, running from what I didn't want to see. The forest hadn't hunted me down to punish me. It had been waiting for me to come back and finish what I started. I felt warmth spread through my chest, slow and heavy, like roots sinking into soil. The creature's voice grew softer, fading into the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Now you remember. Now you belong. The light faded from the altar. The deer lowered their heads in unison, and the forest fell silent. For a long time, there was nothing. No pain, no sound, no thought, only stillness. When I opened my eyes, I was standing again. The hollow was empty. The altar gone. Only the trees remained, tall, ancient, indifferent. The camera hung around my neck. Its lens cracked. I lifted it without thinking and pressed the shutter. Click. The flash lit the forest for just a second, enough to see the reflection staring back at me. A man standing among deer, eyes black, skin pale as ash, calm, still, watching. I lowered the camera, and the forest accepted me. Every breath I took felt like it came from the earth itself. Every beat of my heart matched the rhythm of the trees, and somewhere far away, maybe years later, someone will find this camera. They'll see the photos, the deer, the faces, mine among them. They'll wonder what happened in Ashwood Hollow, why the deer never run, why they only stand and watch. And if they look long enough into those dark eyes, maybe they'll see me there too, waiting, watching. You've just heard The Deer of Ashwood Hollow, a story from the channel Shadowed Fears. If you felt the chill of the forest tonight, if the sound of the deer still lingers in your mind, leave us a comment below and tell us what you think. What should the next story be? What fear would you like to step into next? Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so you don't miss the next nightmare waiting just beyond the trees. Sleep lightly and keep your eyes open, because the forest remembers.